Due to the graphic nature of this program, parental discretion is advised.
Got a birthday for you. Lost number 2 engine coming down real fast.
We need help over here.
Hello, I'm Gillian Anderson. I have to tell you, at first I was a little hesitant about hosting this program because I tend to be a nervous flyer. But we hope that the information in this hour will forever change the way that you travel on commercial aircraft. For me, it already has. We all have a lot of questions when it comes to airline travel.
Let's take a look at reality. In the last year, the aviation industry has been battered by a series of disasters. 10 major incidents and 5 devastating crashes have thrust aviation safety onto the front page.
December 20th, an American Airlines flight 965 careens into a Colombian mountain. 160 people perish. February 6th, 189 passengers and crew on a Turkish airline are plunged into shark-infested waters off the Dominican Republic. February 29th, a Boeing 737 crashes and burns in Peru. Again, no survivors. April 3rd, another fatal accident. The military version of the Boeing 737 crashed into a hillside in Croatia, killing 35 people, including Commerce Secretary Ron Brown.
May 11th, even more terror, this time on American soil. The shocking crash of ValueJet Flight 592. The 27-year-old DC-9 took off from Miami carrying 110 people on a routine trip to Atlanta. Also on board, more than 100 potentially dangerous oxygen canisters in the cargo hold. Part of a low-fares, no-frills airline, this ValueJet flight was no bargain. In the air for less than 6 minutes, pilots on the doomed flight radioed a desperate plea. The plane was rapidly filling with smoke.
592 days immediate return to Miami.
These were among the last words from the flight crew to the control tower.
Smoke in the cabin, smoke in the cabin. Roger. Clear 592, turn left heading 140.
Because the plane just went like this to like that, and once it got on its side, it just went, you know, about a 70, 75 degree angle straight into the ground.
The ValueJet disintegrated into the muck of the Florida Everglades.
We are hearing there are no survivors. We are hearing there are absolutely no survivors.
Hampered by a remote location and thick mud that literally swallowed the plane, recovery efforts took close to a month. But investigators quickly focused on the oxygen canisters as the possible source of the fire.
As we're about to find out, any number of things can go wrong when you fly. And when something does, there may be no worse way to die.
Because the bodies were so badly mangled in the impact, the medical examiner here says he's unsure if he'll ever be able to identify each passenger.
There was a tremendous explosion in a whirlwind, tornado, throughout the entire airplane.
My first thought was, oh my gosh, this isn't an emergency. It's the worst crisis possible.
My first realization, and to be honest, is that you're probably going to die this afternoon.
When we hit the water, I felt myself blacking out, and I never expected to regain consciousness.
Fathers grabbed for their children, husbands grabbed for their wives. It was absolute stark terror.
Over and over, we hear that flying is the safest way to travel. Based on the number of people who fly each year in the U.S., your chances are 3 million to 1 that a major carrier or commuter crash will kill you. Those are pretty great odds. But tell that to the hundreds of passengers who went down on these devastated planes.
When you as a passenger hand that ticket to the flight attendant and take your seat in the rear of one of those airplanes, you are absolutely, totally out of control of your future and your fate. You totally turn over responsibility for your life or your death to the hands of the airlines and their pilots.
ValueJet is grounded as of midnight.
Subsequent to the accident and the 30-day special investigation that just occurred, we have turned up a number of issues which caused us to take this today.
In the case of ValueJet, the FAA speculates that the airline may have grown too fast and cut corners to provide low fares.
A preliminary FAA report on ValueJet had noted missing manuals, confused mechanics, and lack of maintenance quality control as some of the airline's operational problems.
The FAA, which was quick at first to defend ValueJet, now faces a major internal shakeup over their handling of the upstart airline.
We may not just have a ValueJet problem here, we may also have an FAA problem.
In Collision Course, a book Ralph Nader co-authored on airline safety, he says safety often takes a back seat to airline economics and government politics.
Aviation safety is like a rubber band. You know, the risks increase and nothing happens. The risks increase and nothing happens. And then at some point, snaps. We don't want to get to that point.
As we get into the future, we're going to see accidents happening almost every week in our newspapers, major catastrophes.
When I regained consciousness, we were sinking and the water in the aircraft was about up to my nose.
I was engulfed in the flames, and I knew that I was in fire.
Everything that wasn't tied down was airborne. It was as loud as laying under a train on a track when the train's going over. You couldn't hear yourself scream.
Once you hit the ground, you literally have seconds before the cabin is engulfed in this thick smoke. And when I say thick, you can barely see your hand in front of your face, and you can't breathe.
I was in intensive care. I almost died the first night. And my wife and son, youngest son, got there, and I said, "What about everybody else?" And her big blue eyes filled up with tears, and she started to cry. She said, "Not everybody made it."
These people all lived through the absolute horror of a crash. But what went wrong? Why couldn't they beat the odds? Why did their planes go down? Each of these survivors was a victim for a very different reason. Next, you'll see how and why planes crash, and learn ways you can avoid stepping on a jet that may end up a fiery wreck. Also, listen to this spine-chilling recording. Our pilots being rushed to takeoff before they're ready. Coming up, 2 airline tragedies that might have been prevented.